Yeah. Hi everyone. Welcome to our new Syos
Hi.
live. Hi Leland.
Hi, how are you?
We are really happy to have you tonight. I think I hear myself. I have some feedback.
Yeah, I tried to turn the sound off on my phone.
Okay.
Is it still bad?
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Okay.
No, I'm still hearing myself.
Sure. I guess you can't completely mute it for some reason. Is it still bad?
We will start like that and see if what people will say.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, thank you for being with us tonight. I'm really happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So yeah, I wanted to start by learning a little more about yourself and yeah, if you can describe your career, what brings you to the saxophone and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah. I guess I was involved with music for a long time before I ever played saxophone. I started on violin when I was 6 and played classical music up until I was 14 and switched to guitar, and then eventually just started playing the sax because at the time I just thought it was the coolest looking instrument. As dumb as that is,
Yeah,
but
that's
it kind of just immediately it sort of just took over as the thing that I felt most attached to. I went to Humber College in Toronto to study jazz, and from there just kind of started gigging and eventually joined BadBadNotGood, and that's kind of the main thing that keeps me going, and I'm trying to just work on all aspects of music currently. And it's been very strange in the past year, but luckily I've been kind of delving into a lot of recording and writing, so that's kind of been keeping me going and having more time than ever in the past 7 years to practice, which has been nice. I was touring so much with BadBadNotGood, and it's really kind of hard to a lot of what I would be doing would just be kind of maintenance practice, because when you're on the road you don't really have any time to take any new content or develop anything. So yeah, that's been a kind of benefit of the past year.
Yeah, it must have been strange to pass from being all the time outside your house, touring everywhere, and just be back, at your place that you don't even know, maybe because you haven't been there for a long time, and just be there. So
yeah, for sure.
So what's your you said that you had more time to practice. So do you have some routines, some things you want to share? Like, how do you practice your saxophone?
Sure. I mean, I guess I feel there's a classic thing that kind of everyone talks about, but I've been doing it too. Where I feel the older I get, the more I just end up wanting to work on fundamentals and keeping things as basic as possible. So it's just been a lot of long tones and overtone exercises and a bit of transcribing here and there. I'd be too embarrassed to perform any of it, but I've also been trying to work on a lot of classical or kind of classical style etudes. But yeah, I don't think I can really pull any of that off in a performance context. But outside of that, I've had a lot of time to work on writing music, so I've just been I have an album that I finished that hopefully will be coming out soon, and been working on some different film score projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit more about your setup? What saxophone do you play?
Yeah, sure. We'll just pull it up over here. So I have a SBA Selmer, my Syos signature model, and I just started playing this Boston sax shop ligature, which has been nice, and play Rigotti reeds, which are, I've been kind of like, I usually buy different sizes because they, or strength, sorry, usually like a light 3 or a hard 2, because this Mouthpiece is like an 8-star-ish, so it's just sort of the balance that kind of works for me. Yeah, I can play a bit too.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not too loud. Let me know if it sounds okay.
Okay.
That sound okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I'll just keep going a bit. Yeah, so that's the setup. I don't know if there's any other questions you have.
Yeah, I have a question on Instagram. It's of the OKP that asks, do you improvise a lot?
Yeah, it's kind of the main thing I like to do with saxophone playing. Luckily, the year before COVID happened, I had a weekly gig in Toronto at the place called the Cameron House, where I would just improvise every week with different musicians, and that was super fun. And I try to do it like in different contexts. Like I still love learning standards and developing that repertoire and improvising over that, and also just like straight up free playing. I actually put out a record last year with my good friend Matthew Tavares. It's like completely improvised. It's from a live show and it's called January 12th. But that's something I also like when I'm practicing. I like to usually end my practice sessions by, or begin or end any of my practice sessions with just completely improvising and trying to have like something that's, you kind of approach in the same way that you would a performance, that's sort of uninterrupted and, you know, just trying to have it be like a full piece in its own right. I think the Instagram is like frozen for me. Ah.
No, I think it's working. Yeah, we have
Okay.
some people telling that they love the album with Tavares.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah, can you tell us a little more about that album? Like,
yeah, so I guess in the fall of there's actually 2 albums that I put out with him last year. One of them is called Visions, and we recorded that at the end of 2019. And then we played a show in Toronto before the pandemic in January. That's the live concert that I was just mentioning. And then Visions came out shortly after that in March of last year, which is sort of like 50% compositions that we wrote together and 50% just improvising. And that was all done in like a long studio day with my friend Julian Anderson Bowes on bass and Matt Chalmers on drums. So yeah, after that came out, we were also like we had like a full Europe tour planned that unfortunately that would have been in May of 2020, and that got canceled, like everything else. But hopefully one day we can tour, because the whole plan with that tour was to not play any of the written material and just do improvising. And I think that's kind of like where the fun really happens, when you're playing night to night improvising, because you can't really rely on the same things. You really have to like start to reach and find new ways to approach developing compositions in the moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So we have other questions on Instagram. So what is the most fulfilling things about playing or writing music?
Oh boy. Most fulfilling thing. I just feel like I'm not, I mean, maybe you can tell from this, I'm not the most talkative person. So I feel like just any form of music is the kind of more natural way of like expressing myself. And it just, I think just like accomplishing anything and like developing as a musician, or like finishing a composition or finishing recording a song is just really satisfying, and sort of like I feel like essential to my mental health to keep going on, you know. Especially nowadays, I feel like I'm using music as like a form of self therapy because I'm spending so much time by myself, and like the context of the way that I think music is meant to be is in the room, in like a shared experience amongst friends. So yeah, now I'm just really trying to lean into the whole working on music to stay positive, you know.
Yeah. We have another questions. Any great saxophonists you would have loved to play alongside?
Yeah, I mean, so many. A lot of them are Syos artists as well, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that inspire me, but I don't think that I'm at all in the same league to be able to collaborate with them. But I'm like a huge fan of Walter Smith and Ben Wendell and Seamus Blake and Melissa Aldana and Mark Turner and stuff. The list goes on. But yeah, I don't know. I think any of them would be amazing to collaborate with, but I would feel really out of my element because in my mind they're like true masters of the instrument, and I'm just trying to learn and use the ability I have to express myself. But yeah, hopefully one day I'll get there.
Yeah. So you need to go to Boston. No, they are all there.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have another question.
Actually, I think I have the mouthpiece that you made for Ben Wendell. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
we have
years
one
ago,
of
you gave
those.
this to
It's like
me.
pieces. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a question from Senior Monochrome. He says, when was your album completed and when you would like to release it?
I actually finished it just like a couple weeks ago, but there's like a lot of things I have to figure out still. Like I only finished the music, like it's mastered now, but still have to finish artwork and all of that fun stuff. So hopefully later this year, but we'll see. Can't say for sure yet. I feel like ideally it would be as soon as possible, because it's like it's kind of like a true product of quarantine, like a lot of myself on it. But yeah, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we will talk a little bit more about your mouthpiece, so your tenor mouthpiece. Do you remember when you were like looking for when we start working on it? How would you describe the sound and the characteristics you were looking for?
Um, well, I guess before I still have it, but this was the mouthpiece that I was playing. Sorry, that I was playing before, and it was just like a sort of a mouthpiece that was like inspired by an Autolink setup.
Mhm.
But I guess I met Pauline in France when I was on tour, maybe in 2017, I think, or 2018. I can't quite remember, but
Yeah.
I went by the Syos office and I just tried like maybe 20 different mouthpieces, and I'm not like the kind of person that fully understands the like differences in how like different baffles and openings and all these different things affect the sound. So I was just trying to find something that felt really good, and um, there's a lot of mouthpieces that I tried there that were amazing, but like it really kind of put in perspective of what exactly I was looking for. But I did actually walk out that day just playing one of the mouthpieces that you had given me that like wasn't custom. But like having spent a bit of time with it, there's some obvious like it just generally felt much easier to play, and like things that saxophonists tend to practice that are often thought of as being really difficult just kind of seem to come a lot easier, like doing overtones and altissimo particularly was a lot easier. Um, and I think that's like at the end of the day, I feel like when you're talking about saxophone gear, it's really about the feel of it that you're kind of looking for. But at the same time, like I think when you have something that like feels really comfortable, it also just allows you to kind of develop your own sound and in a more comfortable, relaxed way. So yeah, I think after that we just kind of messed around with trying to find like something with a bit more projection and a bit darker, I think. But I don't even because I know you have the scale from like projection or power and the dark and brightness. I'm not sure exactly where my mouthpiece sits on that spectrum.
It's more on the bright side, but
Oh, okay, there you go.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just generally speaking, I
But
think the Syos mouthpiece is just so much easier to to play and project on. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
no, but I was about to say that it was more in the middle, like it's a quite balanced mouthpieces, so it's just on the little bright side, but it's not too bright and not too dark.
Right, right, okay. Um, but actually, I think around the time that I got this mouthpiece, I also um, upgrade. Like I got this saxophone. I was playing a P Moria before, so like around the time I got this, my whole setup changed.
Mhm.
And then I was like messing around with, since this mouthpiece is a lot more open than the one I used to play. This one's like around a 7-star, I think. So I just ended up like, yeah, I switched everything, went started playing softer reeds, and yeah, I think once I was happy, I'm trying not to like think too much about gear because it's all working for me. So I think any problems that I have are just have to do with my own lack of abilities, I guess.
Uh, so is there, we have another question on Instagram. Is there any song or album that you always find yourself gravitating towards?
um, yeah, for sure. Just to keep it kind of saxophone centric, probably Crescent by John Coltrane, just because it's I always forget if it was, I can't remember if it was recorded right before or right after Love Supreme, but I think particularly the song Crescent has like one of my favorite saxophone solos of all time. I feel like it's just like a masterclass in motivic development and expression and everything. So that's definitely a big one. Um, and something in a more modern context, I really love Walter Smith's Live in Paris record, just because of that live energy and like some of my favorite modern musicians interacting together and like having playing some of my favorite kind of standards too, like Stablemates and Cyclic Episode. Yeah, I'd say those are two big ones for me.
Okay. Um, so you joined the band Bad Bad Not Good in 2016. So, but after years of collaboration, so how did it all begin?
Sorry, can you say that again?
So you joined the band Bad Bad Not Good in 2016, but it was years after you started collaborating. So just wanted to know how it all started, and yeah, what was the story behind the band and you joining it.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I've known the guys for 10 years roughly now. We all went to college together. That's sort of where I initially met them all. And even roughly 10 years ago, I was like playing with them a little bit, like playing local shows in Toronto and sometimes like in Montreal and stuff with them. And then slowly over time, I just kind of like did more and more shows with them. And in 2015, when they put out Sour Soul, the record with Ghostface, they needed another member to kind of like fill out all the parts, even though we weren't really performing music from that record. But the funny thing with that is that I was actually just playing guitar. um, but at that point, I was just kind of around them all the time, and we were writing together, and it was sort of like a seamless transition to being around. And I don't even know. Maybe it's just the situation of I never I never left, so they were like, maybe we should just ask this guy to join. But yeah, so that I guess around that time was also when we started writing the music for the album 4 that came out in 2016. So
Mm-hmm.
ever since then, I've been around all the time.
Okay. And how did it go with the Colin Stetson, who is playing also on the album?
He's like a huge hero of mine. I think what he does is absolutely incredible. Have you ever worked with him, by the way, or like has he? Yeah.
No, so I'm actually trying to contact him, but yeah, I didn't manage to reach him yet. So if you
I'm
have
sure
his
he would love
number,
your stuff. Yeah, I'll pass it on after this.
okay.
Yeah, I was also just like extremely intimidated working with him because of how amazing he is. Um, but actually, like being like everything we did with him was in the same room and all written within like a 3 or 4 day period and recorded within that same period. And even though he has such a strong like conviction of who he is as an artist, and it's such a high caliber, he still was super easy to work with and super easy to like collaborate with on and like allow I think the strengths of all of us to like kind of shine through within him within like kind of the world that he likes to work in. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Um, hope to do it again soon. It'd be really fun to like play live with him too. Although I would maybe be way too nervous to make anything come out of my sax, but we can always hope.
Yeah, that would be great. Would love to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there is the album Bad Bad Not Good 2 released in 2012 that was recording for a 10-hour studio session. So what do you remember for it? Was it fully improvisation, or how did it go?
So they got like free studio time at a nice studio in Toronto, but it was free because they recorded overnight. So yeah, I since I was only involved with a couple of the songs, I remember showing up to like a studio session at like 2 a.m. or something to work on it. But the funny thing about my involvement was that they had kind of like all the mics and everything set up for their trio setup, and then when I showed up, they just moved one of the drum overheads to the sax, thinking that would like, because everything was like super rushed because they were trying to cram everything in. But afterwards, we just found out that it sounded absolutely terrible. Like the saxophone specifically sounded terrible, so I went back to like Alex's basement later to like re-record everything. So if you listen closely, you can kind of hear the sax from from the original takes, because you obviously can't edit it out of the drum mics. But yeah, so I was trying to like approach it with the same energy, but that was fun.
Okay. Out of the 5 albums the band released, what is your favorite and why?
I don't know. That's really tough to say. I feel like I can't say 4 because that's the one that I was most involved with. I mean, I really like Sour Soul, but I also like revisited that record recently because my brother has the cassette for it, and he was playing it off of his cassette player the other day, and it sounded it's the kind of record that really benefits from that lo-fi sound quality. So I don't know, maybe just because I heard it more recently, that one. Also, Ghostface is a legend, so it's pretty incredible that they were able to work with him.
So we saw that people were using the term wonky to describe the music, but how would you describe it? For you, is it a good word to describe the music, or
Sorry, you're cutting out there. Do you mind repeating that?
what?
Sorry, you're cutting out there. Do you mind repeating that?
Okay. Do you hear me now? Is it okay? Oh, I think you have a connection problem.
I have a bad connection.
I
Is
don't
it better
know.
now?
Do you hear me? I hear you, yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll jump over to Instagram because I feel like that's kind of working a bit better.
Okay. So when I
Hi, sorry, is this better?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually it's better, and we don't have the echo anymore, so it's nice.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I was saying that some people use the term wonky to describe your music, and I was wondering if how would you describe it, and if it's a good term for you, or if you would use some other words.
I mean, I don't know what the like. I feel like the word wonky can be interpreted in different ways, but
Yeah.
one way it makes me kind of think of is like everything is kind of like pitch bendy. Like especially earlier BadBadNotGood stuff is like pretty like lo-fi, and I think there's like the element of recording to tape and having synths be detuned, and even the way I like to play saxophone isn't like I'm not trying to strive to like play everything perfectly in tune, and I like to like mess with the tuning a little bit. So I think that maybe that's an element of it. And then like the other element, I think like when we perform live, we're not like kind of striving for like metronomic perfection either. So I think like having the fluctuation of things that aren't, we're not trying to like define them as being finite, you know, like things can speed up and slow down, and they can kind of like have different ways of just moving and being wavy or wonky or however you want to describe it. I don't think that that's a bad way to describe it, to be honest. Don't take any offense to that.
Okay. So you play a lot of instruments. You play a lot of saxophone, clarinet, guitar, flute, and more. So what's your favorite instrument at the end?
Definitely this one right here.
Yeah.
I think like when I'm like practicing instruments, I'm just striving to try to be as like free as possible, and I don't think I can ever really get that same feeling on any other instrument outside of specifically tenor saxophone, you know. Even though like I do practice guitar all the time, there's just I don't think I have that same freedom that I do. Where like if you're playing with musicians, you want to be able to react to people in a really quick way and like be able to hear things on your instrument clearly and execute them quickly. And I think like working in the production kind of like recording realm, there's like you kind of have the luxury of time and multiple takes, but I wouldn't feel like super competent if I was like improvising live on clarinet, for example. And same with guitar. And then I think like just the fact that I do have that better relationship with saxophone, it kind of comes off of a bit more like meaningful or deeper to me when I'm doing it live. But I mean, I do have a instrument addiction, and I keep on buying new things. Like I just bought a bass a couple weeks ago, and I'm.
So maybe the question is what instrument you don't play?
Yeah. I've tried to play brass, and you don't want to hear me play brass instruments. Well, I guess like violin was my first instrument, and I do love violin so much, but it's kind of an instrument like saxophone where if you don't maintain it, you kind of like lose it very quickly. Like you kind of have to not. It's with saxophone. There's like the embouchure and muscle memory and like air support thing that is easy to slip away, but on violin, there's like so many factors that go into playing it really well. So that's kind of rough. Although I still try to record it on occasion, but it doesn't sound that great.
Okay. So we have a question on Instagram. What are you most looking forward to in 2021? I don't know if we can expect something.
I mean, there's a lot of new music in the works that should be ready to come out soon, but I can leave it as vague as that. I think just like as a general thing, I live in Toronto, so the weather has been pretty cold, and it kind of makes it a bit more difficult in terms of the whole lockdown thing because you know, months can go by where I'm lucky to live with my partner, but if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't see anybody for long periods of time. So at least with the weather getting better, I think there's like a bit more like optimism for doing some sort of like live performances, or at least seeing friends and having some sort of socializing going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same in France. Like we had like really great weather this week. Like it was like 26 degrees, and next week is going to snow. So
Oh, really?
kind of strange. Yeah, I don't know what's happening, but
that actually happens in Toronto too. Like normally the weather gets better in March, and there's like that one snowfall in April that catches everyone off guard.
So we have someone on Instagram asking, what's your favorite Black Sabbath album?
Hi, Colte. I'd probably say either Paranoid or Master of Reality. Or but any of the first 4 Black Sabbath records all slap, so I don't know.
And when can we expect the next BadBadNotGood album?
Hopefully later this year.
Oh,
I don't know if I can say that, but yeah.
Okay. So we have another question. Ever thought about making an album on the idea of love?
Not really, no. Maybe if I have like a singer-songwriting phase, I'll pull that off. But
yeah, you can sing since you play guitar and do some folk music.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe one day, but not now.
Okay, I think he wanted you to say Sabotage for the Black Sabbath album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know a lot about Black Sabbath, but okay. So questions. How can I? Shit. I'm in the comment section of Instagram and I don't know how to go back from that, but okay. So I have another question for you. So what's your do you have a typical process for writing music?
Basically just like, I mean, just having like an initial idea that starts on an instrument. I've just like try to write music away from any sort of recording software, which usually means starting off on either guitar or piano, which is another reason why I like playing those instruments. But yeah, I think especially this past year, since like so much of what I've been writing has been by myself, I like to have like an idea of the whole kind of composition and form and harmony before even thinking about how I want to approach it from a recording perspective. But yeah, I don't know, just like trying. I think also like it's nice to write with the melody and harmony kind of intertwined at the same time, rather than like writing a really nice chord progression and then trying to impose a melody after the fact. I feel like it's really good if they kind of go hand in hand and support each other and develop together, which is also a benefit of piano and guitar. I've written a lot of stuff on saxophone on its own, and I think sometimes the harmonic context is a little bit more vague or harder to pinpoint. But I've done it. I've done it both ways though.
Okay. So where would you like to take your music in the next few years? What sounds are you exploring right now? What kind of music do you?
I mean, I made a record that's again hopefully coming out relatively soon, and it's all kind of. My brother played drums on it, and there's some like a couple of other musicians on it, but for the most part, it's just myself, kind of doing like a jazz leaning sort of project. But it's not really possible to even imagine performing it live, unfortunately. But I also don't really aspire to do that much. I think like the main thing I wish that we could see in 2021, but I don't know if it will happen, is it would be really nice to tour and perform with BadBadNotGood in some sort of context, but it's kind of too early to see what that means.
Yeah, I see some countries still organizing some festivals. Or do you have some invitation somewhere? Or
Yeah, we have, but I feel like I was even thinking about this at the start of the pandemic. I feel like a touring act is kind of like the most problematic thing to happen right now. Like you don't really want a group of people traveling from
Mhm.
country to country right now. Like I think it'll take a while for that to be normal again. Hopefully it
Yeah.
happens again. I don't know.
Yeah, it will. We need to be optimistic, but
Yeah,
yeah, I just don't really know why. Don't know when, especially, but yeah.
yeah. But I think everyone's craving it. I'm definitely craving it too. Like I really want to see some live music, especially with like
Yeah.
people playing together.
Yeah, definitely want to see that too. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's so boring right now, but
yeah,
yeah, just all the stream. It's nice to see a live stream, but yeah, it's still better to see the live show and be there and feel the atmosphere of the crowd and hear the music directly.
yeah. Especially at this point because there's been so many live streams. It's really hard. It's like super diluted. It's really hard to like do
Yeah.
something that stands out.
Um. So yeah, since we were talking about music live, what's your best memory of a show? What do you have, like a special show you may remember that was like the best show of your life?
It's pretty hard to say. I guess the most recent one was one of the last kind of major tours that we did was we started in South America and then went to Asia. And in Sao Paulo, we opened for Arthur Verocai, who's one of my favorite artists and guitarists and arrangers. But yeah, we opened with him and he had his orchestra play and we were able to like sit in for 4 songs. So that was super special. And another one that comes to mind was like a local show that we did in Toronto at a venue called Massey Hall, which is sort of like one of the more legendary venues here. Really beautiful old theater, and we just had like the time to rehearse and bring the Talia String Quartet to play with us. Who one of the members is a really old friend of mine, so that was really special. And we wrote some stuff for like additional horn players, so it was like a kind of a big production thing that was just really special, and we recorded that too. So maybe one day that will come out.
Okay. Do you have some saxophone tips and tricks to share with the viewers on the saxophone?
Tips and tricks? Not really, I feel like I'm just trying to learn from other people, and I think like all the practicing I've done this year has been more so just trying to like develop fundamental things that it hasn't felt like a particularly innovative um, time. But I feel like, yeah, to give the most boring answer, just long tones are the best thing you can do.
Yeah, we have an article about long tones on Syos blog. So
Okay, I'll check it out.
yeah. So what was the best advice you received from a player you admire?
um, I don't know. I mean, I guess when we were like touring with Ghostface, he often talked to us about how like not letting money get in the way or anything, and not like prioritizing money on it. Like it's all about. He was saying it's all about like the community that you have and the love and support that you can give each other. And I think that's definitely true. I think there's no reason to get egotistical or competitive when you're working in the musical field. You know,
Hmm.
it's a much better place if everyone is creating their own art and supporting each other.
Okay. Just before we finish, I just wanted to know what was the biggest lesson you what is the biggest lesson you take away from this year or like the 2020?
I guess just to like not take anything for granted. You know,
Yeah.
it's easy to like get caught up in all the things that are going on in your life. Even before this, when I was like constantly touring, even though there's like a lot of negative aspects to touring, but yeah, I think I just to kind of like really be present and take it all in as you can, and appreciate what you have, I guess. Yeah, as simple as that is.
Mm-hmm. No, but it's true. Yeah. So yeah, maybe you can just play something just before we finish.
Sure. This might be a little louder, but...
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. It was nice talking to you, and thank you everyone for following us tonight. And it was a great pleasure to have you. And I hope we can meet again soon and be able to see some live music soon also.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Have a good night. Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.